All right, Miss Cindy, call roll.
Mr. Piazza?
Here.
Miss Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Anthony?
Here.
Mr. Toller?
Here.
Miss Richards?
Present.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Present.
Ms. Dominguez?
Present. We have some revisions to go over. Consider approval of revision to policy DFI, admissions and gate receipts. Mr. Toller.
Yes, ma'am. I asked that this to be put on there to consider. In years past, we have always talked about doing a reduced rate ticket for students and faculty.
I agree.
In here, if you see the previous lines, it's already clarified in here that the principals are in charge of the price of admission at their events. The principal has to get that approved through the superintendent. I didn't want to put a number in here and say that there should be half-price tickets, or they should be 2/3. I want that to be a decision the principal makes. If y'all see fit different, and you want to do something parish-wide, I would be more than glad to entertain that. But what I want to do with this revision is to put it in our policy that that a reduced price ticket shall be available to all employees and TPSS students with presentation of TPSS issued IDs. And I know we're going to get some kickback from maybe some of the coaches because of reduced gate fees. If the tickets are $8 now, I'm assuming maybe a $4 student price or something. But I really think with parents, because I have a lot of friends and I hear them talk about the fact that they bring 2 kids this week and next week they'll bring the other 2 kids and they'll alternate them because it's expensive to bring a family of 4 or a family of 5 to a ball game, to a whatever. I think by us having a reduced price for students, we would increase our student participation in our events, which overall increases school spirit, and also our teachers should be in that same category because they want to see their students perform, and I believe they should have a reduced price as well. So the amount is up for grabs with the principal and the superintendent, but that's my recommendation.
Madam President, I have a question for Mr. Tom.
Sure.
First off, I think it's a wonderful idea. It brings a lot of elements to the table, not only from an employee standpoint, because it gets them more engaged when they do come to an event. So I think that's a wonderful idea. The only thing I would say that you have to be careful on is you might want to add in here that it would exclude any playoff games and state games, because those are actually, you have to pay the LHSAA for those games. Like, they have to actually take the ticket, the gate tickets, and bring that to the LHSAA. So this, for normal games, this is perfect, but for playoff games and state games, they have to pay that gate fee. They have to split it with the team that comes to us, or if we go away, they have to split it with the teams, and they have to pay the LHSAA. So, like, when we have coaches' cards, we can't use them usually for playoff games because of those restrictions. I think it's great for normal games, but just make sure when we put this in policy that it does exclude those.
Go ahead, Ms. James.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that I'd like to see it, Superintendent, I'd just like to see it go parish-wide as opposed to different schools having different amounts. Because our fairness to every child, everything. Set the price for every school.
But if she can do that, she has the authority to do that.
Ms. Rose?
Just for clarification, I think we'll go ahead and put a motion on the table in a second and then we'll discuss.
Sure.
Tom, you got a motion? That was your motion?
Motion to add the words in policy DFI, after the first paragraph, to add the words, a reduced price ticket shall be available to all employees and TPSS students with presentation of TPSS issued ID cards for all regular athletic events.
Regular season.
Or excluding,
Regular season athletic events.
regular season athletic events.
And I second that motion.
But I don't know if I'd say athletic, because you have other events.
Yeah, you have lots of events.
School.
I was going to.
Is your intent for it to be, if I'm a Sumner student going to a Sumner game at home, or do they get the discount if they go to a Amite High School game, but they're a Sumner
They
student?
have a student ID and they go into a student on any of our schools.
Rose?
I would like to circle back to what Janice said. I think it should be, as it states in here several times, a uniform procedure, uniform performances of how we're going to handle. I think it should be the same amount of money at every school and in all our schools. But I don't know the amount. I don't know if it should be half. I don't think it should be half. I think it should be
Well, see, and that's the thing too, is certain events are different prices too. So if I go to a band concert or I go to a drama play, it might be different admissions than a football game.
yeah, I don't know how we would come to that, but I don't think we could, it's fair for those sporting teams or anybody to say half price, you know, because,
Keep in mind, like I said, the superintendent has that say-so. She can already do that. And my thoughts of not putting a price in there, because with inflation, it may change next year.
Yeah.
And every year, we'll have to go back like dress code and just discuss again, how much should our games be? She has the authority in our current policy to set that parish-wide.
yeah, it needs to be parish-wide. I will vote for it if somewhere in here it would say parish-wide, not just principal decision.
That's what I'm saying, she already has that, after
Yeah.
consultation with the superintendent.
And his or does yeah, that's already in there.
I mean, she could disregard it, and she could say, hey, it's $10 a Kenwood and $8 a Ponchatoula. But
That's what I'm saying. I think it needs to be in policy, not just give her or whoever's to follow her, okay, we're gonna, whatever price. It ought to be the set amount,
So
just like
can
it
we-
says we got a uniform procedure for handling the money. We have a uniform procedure for selling and collecting tickets. It should be a uniform price across the parish.
So can we add the language of the superintendent must make it uniform across parish, whatever it may be? Could you add that? That way you're not putting a actual number amount on it?
I'm not saying a number amount. I'm saying that it, no matter what the number
Right,
amount.
so just
it should
add
be
the word
same
uniform across the parish inside of the language.
Rose.
I-
Joey, second.
I second it. But does that resolve the issues if we put the word
I don't-
uniform?
I mean, so my concern about putting a set percentage is that, again, you're talking about, this is not just athletic events. This rule, the way it's currently written, it would apply to theater ticket admissions. I mean, a 50% cut
Yeah,
to
you
a
can't-
theater position, I mean, that's drastic. And so I mean, I think at least for this first year, maybe let her work through it, and maybe we come back with something more specific after we get through a year and we've kind of figured out what the kinks and problems are. But I mean, I think she's heard everybody say that we would like for it to be as uniform across the parish as possible. But yeah, not locking in a specific percentage before we've even been through like a pilot year, it could cause a lot more problems than we might want.
And I kind of agree with that. And also, I think we need to do a little study on what just football, for example, what they currently charge parish wide, because what might be a good price at Independence may not be at Ponchatoula High School, for example. So anyway, so I'm 100% for the idea. Just would like a little bit more information to see if this is the correct language. That being said, can we push this through with some guidance to come
Still
later?
gotta come back to the board.
Okay, gotcha.
Just
Go
a
ahead, Rose.
question. I guess, Mr. Jinko, don't we charge this, everybody charges the same fee for football games? All the high schools the same fee?
No, ma'am. What you're also gonna run into is that depending on what district the school it belongs to, the district of that, let's say Independence is 2A, those 2A coaches in that district determine what their price is for the district games. So that may be another little thing that we have to adjust also,
Yeah.
to look into.
Yeah. This is a lot of questions.
Well, I think a lot of, like Beta Club, theater, all of those things, I don't think they have a set price for across the parish the same either.
Nope.
So you're gonna be having to make this ruling on every individual club?
It's already in our policy.
I agree with what Trent said, is we need to collect and find out what everybody's charging for stuff, and then kind of see, it should be pretty equitable across.
But I don't see any problem with having it expressed in the policy, right, that we want some sort of reduction recognizing employees and students, but then, we can figure out.
This leaves her some wiggle
Yeah.
room, depending on what the event is.
Mr. Jeff?
Will you pull the policy back up?
Sure.
The second paragraph, the first sentence says uniform procedure. And what I'm hearing expressed, maybe if that says uniform pricing and procedures shall be used, then you're not saying it has to be, but you have to have a uniform way of doing it.
Yeah.
So everybody's done the same way. If that's what I was hearing, the expression of the word to be. So you're not locked into a number, but you're locked into a guideline that you want to have uniform pricing and uniform procedures across the
Yep.
parish.
And do we amend this to add this year for athletic events only?
I would just leave it as price tickets, whatever the tickets would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that might also encourage more students to go to some of these functions that may not want, because let's face it, if I'm going to the football game on Friday night and it's $10 a ticket, and there's also a drama play that I kind of want to go to, I'm away and we're going to go to the football game, we're not going to the drama. But if it's half, I can kind of say, okay, well, I think it's going to be a big encouragement for these programs. I think it's a good idea.
I really think that the revenue that we will lose by the savings will be made up by the more participation. And that's the selling point for me.
I think so too, because I can tell you, my babies, they stand outside of the gate, and when I get to the gate, I'm going in with you this time, Miss James. I'm going in with you,
Yeah.
because they don't have the money to come in. So I think that would be
Plus one.
that's my plus one.
So do we need a motion to amend first sentence to add in pricing
Okay,
and
Mr.
procedure?
Toller, give us how you want it to read,
I would
It should be on the screen, Mr. Toller.
just the part in green.
Part and green, yeah. Reduced price tickets shall be available to all employees and TPSS students with presentation of a TPS issued ID for all regular season events.
Yeah. And I wouldn't
School
add that
event?
language about pricing just yet. I think we need to get through the first year.
Yeah.
Regular season events, and that would clarify the district things or the, and there may be some more kinks we have to work out.
Yes,
Is
Ms.
that
Rose?
good, Mr. Toller?
Ma'am?
Is that good? On the screen.
He's like, wait,
No, he wasn't looking in the right place.
Yes, Ms. Rose?
so before we vote, we still don't have any clarification of what Ms. Tilly is gonna actually do for us.
Say-
Mr. Toller,
This is not my major though. Ma'am?
She,
I was saying, we still don't have before we vote, we still don't really have a clarification of what Ms. Tilly is gonna find and bring back to us to vote on before final passage of this next Tuesday. I'm like Brett, if you have our drama clubs barely making money enough to cover the expenses they did to put on the event. And that's basically all they're doing, is taking in enough money at the door to cover the expenses of the costumes or whatever. Same thing with the sporting events. They all barely covering the referee fees. And I mean, we don't have a direction here, Ms. Tilly. What do you think about what can you do to get a uniform amount?
Well, I think first of all, we need to know what they're charging. We have to get information on what they're charging now. And that has to happen first. And then I think we can have, and I don't think it's just me. I think we have Mark Vining, we've got, our team that gets
Yeah.
together and looks at this and says, okay, this is what they're paying, this is what they're paying now. Is it different for every school? Yes.
Yeah.
How much different? And then work with them to come up with something that would be reasonable. I think you got to vet it with the principals, what the recommendation might be, and just kind of come to a consensus on it.
And a solution, Rose, like for the idea that you just gave, if I'm in charge of the drama club and I'm barely breaking even with what I'm doing, to keep in line with this, the parents may pay a little bit more, but I may keep the price the same for the students. It's still a reduced price. And the policy still says she has to okay that, so there's ways around that. So that's why I didn't want to throw out there a percentage, I didn't want to throw out a number. I wanted there to be some wiggle room for the different variations between events, from athletics, but the idea is to encourage participation and to show our employees that we're giving them a little break.
Okay, so if we vote for this tonight, we still have to accept it Tuesday night. Would that be an opportunity or plenty? I mean, y'all have a lot going on right now.
Well, I don't know that by next week
That's
we
what
can
I'm
have all this.
saying. But if we approve it, we're approving it without really having any details.
Well, the
I mean,
details that I'm asking for tonight is strictly that reduced price tickets shall be available. That's why I'm not getting into the weeds as far as the price. I'm not putting anything in there about the percentage. I'm just asking for a reduced price for our students and for our employees.
But if we pass it, they're gonna say, what's the reduced price? Come next week when they have
That's up to the
Jamboree.
principals. That's already in the policy. That's up to the principal and the superintendent.
Yep.
That's how that's set already. That's current policy. Nothing new.
If we pass this tonight, can it just not be on next Tuesday, but on the following one? Would a month be enough time, or no?
I think you got to go through a full year to even bump out the kinks, because you're not going to have drama club, you're not going to have football games,
just-
all that in a month.
But if we pass this tonight, it doesn't become policy.
No,
So,
I'm saying I don't think.
Gotta go to full board.
Yeah, it's got to go to full board.
so how much? So if we pass this tonight, it's going to be on the next board meeting, correct?
Yes.
For
Yeah.
final consideration.
Yeah, we know.
You can't skip one. There's no way to. alter
You
the
could push it
rules?
at the next board meeting,
No direct.
but
But
it's not going to matter.
Go back to the question. What information will she provide us between now and the next meeting, whether that's 4 weeks or 6 weeks, is gonna change the intent of this variation to the policy? You see what I'm saying? We're not gonna have the solution as far as what prices everybody's charging for the next year in the next 6 weeks or next 4 weeks. That's not what this policy revision is dealing with. This policy revision is strictly giving a reduced price ticket.
But it's so vague. If you give this to the principal tomorrow and then they're gonna sell tickets for the Jamboree, they're gonna say, well, how much is my reduced price gonna be? Well, I don't know, let me figure it out today, because nobody's gonna give them any details.
That's already in the policy. What does it say there? How does that happen?
It doesn't have anything about reduced prices, though. It just says a controlled pricing, the same procedure, and whatever they're charging now is what they're charging. But now they're gonna ask us, okay, well, how much of a reduced price? I mean, what am I gonna do? I think we need to have a little more information before we give this to the principals when school's starting in 2 weeks for them to have football games, and how much are they gonna reduce it?
I'm
mean,
gonna
we
say
gotta have
this too,
some
y'all, you gotta,
information to give 'em.
I think we're doing a great, Tom, I think this is a great idea, but I'm gonna speak for the coaches on this. We haven't asked any of their opinions, and they're struggling to buy football helmets, uniforms, and stuff like that as it is already. If we cut this like this, I don't know that they're gonna be able to, I just don't know that this is a way to do this yet. I think we need more input on this before we move forward. I think it's a great idea to give our students, but I just don't know that this is gonna be a good for it's not a one fit thing as far as drama club, football, baseball. It's not, one thing doesn't fit all of it. You say half price, if drama club charges $4 to get in the drama club, you're gonna cut them down to $2?
But-
I just don't think that this is gonna be a good
But
fit.
it says reduced. Yeah, and it says reduced ticket. It could be $1. It could be $2. It could be. It's at the discretion of a principal that has to consult with the superintendent prior to even doing it. It says it right there. After consulting with the superintendent or his or her designee, these principals can't just come up and say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna give it half off." They have to go through the superintendent's office. Now, this year, I would ask the superintendent to really be looking at this and say, "Hey, I don't know, Miss Elsie, what are you thinking about your discounts for football and et cetera, et cetera?" "Oh, we're gonna do $1. Sounds great." That's where this learning curve is going to have to take place, is making sure that our administration is reviewing these. I don't see any principal saying, "Okay, 50% off, we're good to go." I don't think any principal is going to say that, because they know the coach is going to come beat down their door in about an hour. I see maybe $2 off, $3 off, but I wouldn't put that in here because, like Tom said, with inflation, it could have to go up $10. Well, $1 ain't going to do nothing with a $10 increase. But if you have the discretion of the superintendent and the principal, that's a safeguard. It's not like one person has that decision.
I don't see what harm we're doing by just making a general policy statement that we
Right.
think we ought to give our students and employees a break. And then if we don't like how it's implemented this year with the
Take it away.
specifics, then we have the opportunity to revisit it and then use all of that information from this year to either say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore, or we're going to impose some specifics on how we want this implemented. But to just simply say as a board that we think we ought to give our students and employees a break on admissions to our own events, I really don't see what the harm is in that.
Okay, we call the vote.
Call the question.
We'll call a vote.
Voting is open.
List. Mhm.
Yes, for me, I don't know why it's not.
You said yes, Mr. Tola? Voting is closed. Motion passes with Ms. Dominguez voting no.
All right, we're going to move on to B, consider approval of revisions to policy JCDA, Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Jenko?
Thank you, Ms. Abrams. Good evening, everyone. If you still you want to.
I was confused if we're looking at the actual policy or are we looking at our revisions to student code? This?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jenko. So our team has been working with, we have a consultant that we're working with, that we've been working with, per our mutual consent agreement that we agreed to and submitted to the court, 2.5 years ago, is to work with DRP on our discipline. So we've been working with them on revising our student code of conduct, which is how administrators respond to student incidences at school. We also have taken into the document Dr. Hatchard, who is the independent educational consultant that's been appointed by the court. There were two specific things that he's recommended. One is to really look at the level system that we utilize for our student behavior, make some revisions to that. And then secondly, to adjust the process, the due process for students who are recommended for the alternative placement. So currently, in the past, we have utilized the Student Services Department. Individual hearing officers conduct the due process and make decisions about, whether the student goes to the alternative placement site or not. Dr. Hatcher's recommendation is, which we took a trip, some of our team took a trip to, I believe it was North Carolina, was it North Carolina?
Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk, Virginia, yes. To see their process where there's a committee of individuals that are reviewing the facts of the case and providing that due process for the student. So that is included in this document. We're not going to ask the board to approve this tonight. We want to bring this back next week and give you a full week to read the document. It's pretty comprehensive, and I think Mr. Jenko is going to give us an overview of how the document is organized and put together.
Thank you, Ms. Stilley. Ms. Janice, I had this big old speech planned of what I was going to say, and you said something that got the wheels turning. You said that one person can make a difference, correct? I think at you and Ms. Rose's leadership conference. So imagine the difference that we can make as we as a school system start doing some of the things that you're going to read about in this particular document, okay? It is the new document that you have compared to the document that we used the last few years. They're basically the same document. We have just updated some information for some things that we've learned the last few years. As Ms. Stilley mentioned, the things that we learned going to visit Norfolk, Virginia, the things we learned from the Model Schools Conference. There were some great things that we got from there. Okay? Think about, all of us have a phone, okay? And all of us probably on that phone have a picture of someone or some group that is very important to us, okay? So as you're reading through this, I want you to imagine that one of those individuals on that phone of yours has got into some type of trouble, okay? Whether it is whatever you can imagine it to be. As we go through the processes in this book, in this manual that our administrators are going to use, It's going to talk about several things. First of all, it's going to talk about things we can do to prevent it. Okay? What are some things we can do to give for interventions? The most important thing to me in here is called the inquiry process. We know it as investigation. We're just updating it to inquiry. The things that we're going to ask our administrators to do to find out every fact that they need to know about that particular incident, find out where that incident falls on the level system, and then give that particular individual a consequence. Okay? A lot more detail what you have there. Before consequences are given to one of my loved ones, I want to make sure that all the I's are dotted or T's are crossed. Just like assuming that you would want for your individual, just like every 20,000 of our particular students, our beauties deserve. Okay? So when we know, I saw this one time at a conference and it stuck with me. If a child can't read, we teach him to read. If a child can't swim, we teach him to swim. If a child can't behave, what do? In the past, it's been so easy. Throw this many days at them, send them out. What does that do? If suspensions with nothing else work, all we would do is suspend the child one time and they'd never get suspended again. They deserve consequences for their actions. What you're going to find out in the document, we want to find out what caused that action, put a plan in place to make sure that something is done so that action does not happen again. We had great discussion here. Okay, great discussion, whether we're talking about the price of a ticket, whatever the case is. These are skills that our kids are not only going to use in 1st grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, etc., but we're going to teach them skills that they're going to use each and every day of their adult life. That's what it's all about. That's what this document breaks down. The consequences are the consequences. That's the easy part of this document. That's the easy part of any discipline process, is give them the consequences. The most important, and I'm a very simple person, I love little analogies. When a child does something, that's the check engine light. Okay? We've got to find out why that check engine light is on, and we've got to find out ways that we can fix it so the check engine light doesn't happen again. That's the most important part of this document. So we ask that you review it, send us tons of questions you have. Again, when you review both of them, if you have the old one, the end result is the same information. One thing that we've done is we've taken the level system, instead of 3 levels, we broke it down to 4 levels. Okay? It talks about bus discipline in there also, talks about vaping, talks about all the issues that we've had. There's going to be consequences, but we need to find out why it's happening and to make sure we can develop a plan to keep that child in school. We all want to be, we're going to be that A district. Okay? This plan is going to help us get there. There's no doubt we're going to find out what some of the issues are, develop a plan to correct those issues, and make sure those issues doesn't happen again.
Mr. Janko, can I add something here?
Most definitely.
On page 2 of this document, which is the table of contents, I just want to hit the highlights on this. First of all, the introduction just talks about the core values and our vision, mission in the school system. The next section talks about all the things that we're doing, and it's a lot, to prevent inappropriate behaviors. And it talks a lot about the social emotional curriculum, Character Strong that we're doing, the training. So it talks about all what we're doing to try to prevent. The next section is the inquiry process. That is basically the investigation of an incident where an administrator is giving due diligence in the investigation process for that child, and we call it the inquiry process. But we've never in the past, I don't think, really outlined for our school administrators how they should really investigate when an issue occurs. So it's to give due diligence but the administration does the investigation on this and those parts. The next section is then after you do your due diligence and the investigation process, then you have to determine, okay, what level is this considered? As an administrator, what level? And what would be the response? What was the consequences for this level? Then if the next section talks about exclusion, which is talking about alternative placement for students, and that's where, you'll see and read about the discipline review committee. So instead of one person making a determination, it's a team of individuals that review the investigation of the administrator, all the facts associated, and then make some decision about alternative placement. There's additional guidance sort of in an appendix that's provided. So it's a pretty comprehensive document. This is why, in fact, we were adding revisions as of yesterday or this morning. So that's why you're just getting the hard copy of this document. But we wanted to provide you a hard copy. We can send you the electronic one as well. So you have the full week. And please, we're happy to talk through any of these sections with you and the why behind it. Again, our partnership with DRP, these are experts in this business. They do this all over the country. And they're also based on recommendations from our educational expert appointed by the court as well. So I just wanted to talk about how it's organized and the components of the stuff that's included.
Mr. Brett?
So thank you for the document. I'm looking forward to reading through it. I would just want to put on, I guess, just want to state in this meeting the same thing that I said at the very first meeting 2 years ago with DRP. I think it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago?
We've been working with them, I think, since 2019. But it's in the mutual consent agreement. It's
the first meeting that we were allowed to participate in with DRP. I think y'all invited us over to the tech center, and they kind of outlined. It seems like that was 2 years ago. But my concern then, and my concern about it every time we've talked about this, because I've lived this in the court system, doing interventions with children. It's beautiful to say that we have a trauma-informed policy. It's beautiful when you all sit down as a team and you come up with these case plans, right? The problem and where we get set up for failure is the lack of personnel to actually work those case plans or even to develop them. And then when you say that you want to do all of these interventions and you don't have the actual ability to do them, right? So there's either, like when I've worked with our juveniles, we'll say, well, we want this kid to get, weekly counseling, but then there's no counselor available to take the state rate to actually do the counseling with the kids. So, you just developed all these resources to develop a beautiful plan, but you don't have a way to actually do it, right? And so my question from the beginning when we've talked about going to this model has been, are we adding extra administration to do it? When I asked that question to DRP, they said, oh, well, in California, when we've done this, we've had plenty of administrators in those schools to do these plans. Well, I think they started out with more administrators than we have per pupil. I don't know what they were doing, but we don't have enough administrators in our schools right now to do the basic level of discipline that we do now. We don't have social workers at each school. We don't have all of this stuff, and then we don't have community resources to actually do these things. So when we come back to talk about this, I'm really still eager to hear about how we are going to set our administrators up for success to actually do this, because I'm concerned about sending them, especially a week before school's about to start, a brand new student code of conduct that says we're going to be doing all of this stuff, and then we haven't trained them, we haven't given them extra administrators, we haven't told them what the community resources are, how we're going to actually make this happen and make them successful. We're just asking them to do a much more complicated version of discipline on very short notice and with little training. I'm concerned about it. I want it to be successful. I hope we're successful. But I want to hear about all of those things, that I've been asking about from the very beginning.
And I'm sorry. Okay, so, all right. So I'm taking all of this in. And I agree with everybody. I agree, Brett. We need counselors. We need social workers. We need security personnel, especially at our schools where our discipline is higher than others. We need it seriously at the alternative school. That should be our highest level of counseling and discipline in the parish. Not discipline so that we can handle misbehavior, but discipline so that the control that factor of settling or putting out fires that happen is available, that it's there. And you say we don't have it. Well, okay, so then we need to be addressing the question as to how we get that. All right, and we need to be working on it. That needs to be a part. That needs to be a major part of the plan. And right now I see us focusing on, and I'll just make this scenario, that we're building hospitals and we don't have doctors. And our children are sick because there's something going on, and it's a spiritual issue, and the spirits don't die. They just hang around until they can infect the next person. They cast out. They're looking for another place to go. So we have a serious spiritual conflict going on, and with our children. How you discipline a child makes a big difference to that child and how they're going to respond to it. If you discipline a child out of anger, then that child is going to be you're going to infuse anger into that child's spirit. If you discipline that child with love and compassion, which is a part of the motto for our school system, if you deal with that child with compassion and that child knows that you are concerned when you're trying to correct them, then they're going to be more open to hearing you and actually and you may actually affect the change. But you're not going to whip and chain these kids into submission. It's not going to happen. We're too far gone from that, and we're not going to be able to turn it around. We're going to have to administer the thing that is going to bring about change. And ultimately that change is going to come about through love for our kids. Miss Stilley introduced a pyramid during the orientation, my first day participating with the school system, and the chart was flipped. Everything else administering down to the child, but she flipped the pyramid and the child was at the top. The reason that we're all here right now, the reason I'm responding and talking to my fellow board members is because I have a serious yearning to see every child, everyone, and not leave one child out of having the best opportunity to get an education, because I know education is going to make even the most undisciplined child a better person. If they have a confidence in themselves, then they're going to make a change. So the thing that we're dealing with is that, where do we put our children in all of this discussion? We all want stuff, but how is that going to affect the chance for every child in our parish? How is all the things we're going to talk about going to affect that child's chances of gaining the education that we're supposed to be trying to give them and supply for them?
Joey? Sure.
Because I don't want anything I said earlier to give anybody the impression that I don't want to do these things for these kids, right? Look, I was at probably one of the very first meetings that we went to talk about having a trauma-informed juvenile justice system. I'm all about it, okay? But I know what it takes to pull something like this off. And if we're trying to do it with the same personnel that we have already, What my concern is, okay, because I know it's going to take more time. You know, getting a teacher to spend time, if we're just talking about it at the teacher level, we say now, okay, teacher, when Billy is bad, rather than you just excusing Billy so that you can focus your attention on the other 18 kids in your classroom, I want you to get down and spend 20 minutes on the why with Billy, and then attend a meeting where we're going to talk about doing trauma-informed intervention. Like if there's not other people to take this extra burden, my concern is what you're doing so that you can give Billy what he needs is these other employees who still only have a certain amount of time in the day are not going to have time to do what they need to do for the other 18 kids, okay? And those other 18 kids are really important too. And what those kids need are really important too, okay? So if we want to do all of these extra things for these kids, I'm all for it. But it cannot be at the expense of making sure that we're giving these other 18 kids what they need. And these people that work for our school system are already taxed to death. They are overworked to death. And when you tell them that they've got to do this much more complicated thing, but we're not giving you more resources, we're not giving you more people, that's a problem. It's a problem not just for those employees, it's a problem for Billy, and it's a problem for all of those other kids that, you know, that just want to come to school and learn. They just want to come to school and learn. So we got to meet the needs of all of these kids. And I agree, we're not doing the best that we possibly can for the Billies that need those extra interventions. I want to give it to them, but I don't want to give it to Billy at the expense of those other 18 kids. That's all I'm trying to say.
Joey?
And I'm going to echo off of that. I have a few concerns. But one, I'm not going to ridicule what may or may not be in this document until I read it. I will say discipline evolves over time. I will say that what used to be a normal practice is not the practical way of doing things now. My concern is we are 2 weeks away from the school starting, and we're now doing a complete overhaul of our student code of conduct, and we have to now train, reenact, give all our disciplinarians the new upgrade, let them time to read it, make sure our teachers know the code of conduct, because right now, and I'm going to say something that was told to me once. I had a lot of principals in my time. The most wisest one always told me, if you take care of your staff, they will take care of the student. That is how you know the student is taken care of, is if you take care of the staff. If you get the right people in place, you cultivate them for learning, and you get them ready to educate that student and engage with that student will do very, very well. We have a problem in Tangipahoa, and it's not uncommon. We're reactive instead of proactive. We hear it all the time, right? On social media, throughout the community. We're going to be reactive if we give this to them 2 weeks before school starts, and the teachers are not prepared, the staff is not prepared, the students aren't prepared. I can't go over all these rules with students in a week. That's my biggest concern, is timing, and then having to put out the little fires all year long, because what gets very aggravating and Brett touched on it, if I write a kid up for not having his shirt tucked in, and I send him to the office, because in our policy, it's supposed to be tucked in, and the disciplinarian goes, oh, well, little Billy, don't do that, go back to class. What did that just tell my teacher? Well, now that told the teacher, well, you know, you followed the policy, but we're not going to follow the policy. Now you just ruined every relationship you have with that student because you're the bad guy. Because Miss Janet down the hall may not do that, but you're doing it. You're following the policy. If I don't know the policy, I don't know what my role is in the policy, I can't follow it. The only way I would look at this is, and I'm not saying that I'm not against it because I haven't read it. I don't know. I'm not saying that at all. Timing is everything, training is everything, and making sure we have the resources, like Brett said, to do it. He hit it before I could. I'm not saying this is not the future of education, because it may be. Because the thing is, and you learn this as a teacher, and any educator would tell you, when a kid is acting up, it's because of two reasons. One, something's happening at home, or they're not engaged. That's the two reasons why kids act up. Something's going on, or they're not engaged in your class. It is our job as educators to make sure we're making sure we tackle those two things, but adding on a whole list of things for a teacher to do, man, you're going to crush them.
Something real quick. So you may recall that we have a CCEI document. Really, the stuff in here, all of the stuff, like if you look at the table of contents, the preventions, there's nothing new in here. This is taking information from another document and merging it in here into the one. What the two things that are different really in this document, two things. One is the refinement of the level system. We've been using a level system for years. It's a refinement. Mr. Jenko said there's a fourth step added to that, okay? Secondly, the change is instead of one person conducting a hearing for a child, it's a committee, which is a better idea.
It is.
So instead of one person playing judge, it's a group, okay? That's the shift. All the other stuff, in terms of, we're trying to provide administrators guidance on what a good investigation looks like. We're trying to train them in that. Yes, we have an administrative training coming up before school starts. We plan to go over those two big shifts, because it's two big shifts. All the other stuff is part of documents that have already been approved by the board. And it's already things we're doing. So, you know, it's guidance to help them with more, but it's not really like everything new. It's stuff we've been doing.
And that's what I'm saying. I haven't read this, so I'm hoping that it's...
You will find, what's infraction? Give me an infraction. But you hear, whether at
walking
home
out
or
of a
anywhere.
classroom without
Walking out of the
permission.
classroom. You're going to find that in the old document, and you're going to find it in this document. Okay? The only difference in this document is Ms. Tilley mentioned, what we did, instead of having 3 levels, we took the levels that we are 100% sure after we investigate, if found that it happened, that person must be put up for a change of placement hearing. That's level 4. Level 1, 2, and 3, you'll find the same exact ones in here with the consequences being the exact same. The only thing we gave more detail to was how to do the inquiry, how to do the investigation, and then as I'm doing the investigation, find out why. Ask why you walked out the classroom. Is it a math class and I didn't do my homework? That's why I got mad and walked out? Is it an English language arts class? I'm on a 3rd grade level and I'm in 8th grade. They're not going to try to read in front of their peers. Okay? So that's the other one. Find out why. Then we can get some interventions to get that child the help he or she needs, math, English, science, social studies, whatever it is.
Mr. Jenko, I'll add, and the board probably is not aware of this, but for August and the opening of school, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of our elementary, middle schools will have a counselor, at least one counselor at their school full time.
Correct.
Because that's a new thing. So before they were sharing counselors, we had, sometimes we had counselors working in 2 schools. So we've been advertising this summer. Every school, every elementary, middle school will have at least one counselor. We specifically advertise for the alternative site for a counselor there. And we've also, going back to Mr. Jerry's point earlier, we also have talked to Mr. Bergeron with the Chief of Police in Hammond, and he has assured us he's going to provide an officer, at least one to start, because they have 32 students to start. And then as we get more students there, he'll provide an additional officer there. So we have that security. We know that that's going to happen in August. So
and we heard, one thing Mr. Duncan mentioned, we heard the mess that was the SAP process last year. So we have adjusted that, and as we move forward, in the appendix you'll see it will even adjust it more as we move forward. In special education, our pupil appraisal teams, I think we have 6 pupil appraisal teams of 4 professionals. So we're going to have some outside eyes that are going to be able to sit down, look through the information, and help us develop a plan for Ron, who can't sit still in his class, or whatever the case happens to be. And this is going to be a document that we are going to, a living document that we will change, I don't want to say numerous times, but if we find out something's not working, we're going to come back and we're going to have to change. This is, this is personal to me. I don't have a kid in the school, but this is personal. You mentioned last night the graduation. One of the individuals appealed to me, went through the appeal hearing, school put him out, the student services officer upheld it, appealed to me, talked with him, put him back in school, and he graduated last night. That's personal. That's what it's about. That inquiry is the key, to find out what's going on and why it's going on. And then, just like we do interventions for math, English, science, and social studies, we need to help them. And Mr. Duncan, you've probably forgotten more about this than I know, and it's stuff that we're going to have to address when we come to that point. And I assure you that we're going to do everything we need to do to make sure our kids are successful. So I can talk about this all night, and I know you don't want to hear it all night, but this
So-
is...
You said yours would be faster than mine.
It was, but like I
Yeah.
said, I get fired up about
Y'all, we
this
still
kind of
got
stuff.
Joey to go through yet.
Yeah, y'all still got me.
So, do we need to make a motion,
No, ma'am.
on
Well-
this? No, we're just gonna give it for us to look over, and then we'll bring it back to our meeting on
Pepper us with
Tuesday.
questions.
Can I
Pepper
make
me
a-
with questions and copy Ms. Stilly on it,
Okay.
please.
Can I make a motion to push item B to the next policy committee? Will that solve it too?
Well, it's not on, this part is not on.
No, I'm talking about the consider approval. Didn't he say we're not doing that tonight?
Well, the
Or
student
this-
code, the code of conduct you want to change is going to be in the document that you're going to read.
Okay.
So let's say if we come back and make your changes in the
So that's what I'm
document that you
saying.
have,
Can we motion
we'll go
to-
back to JCDA and make those changes automatically.
Right. So until I get to read this document in the
Correct.
board, I feel it'd be responsible to push that to the next policy committee. Is that okay with the board? Or,
I would second.
You want to table
You want
it?
to make it a motion?
yeah, I'd like to table item B until we can read this document.
Yeah, I'll
To the
second.
next policy meeting? Who made a motion? Joey?
Me.
And Mr. Jerry, you
I'm
seconded?
seconding it, yes.
Okay.
Question real quick, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Because what I'm looking at on the screen, I've been kind of thumbing through this to find it. And unless it's changed the way it's shaped here, I just don't see it in here. So, you know what I'm saying?
The document that was brought up, the JCDA, is kind of the nuts and bolts version of, I think it talks about the level system and talks about due process.
Okay.
What we have here is a very detailed version of what a school administrator is going to do if the code of conduct is violated.
Okay.
And how we're going to assist that. So, and I know Mr. Piazza has some bus discipline issues.
Right.
So as he reads through this, if he's not happy with this, brings it to the board and those changes are made here, they will obviously have to be made here automatically.
Got it. You know, I just, when I thought a little bit longer, I just answered my own question, so I apologize for asking.
No,
Thank
sir.
you.
No,
All right,
as you
Cindy.
know, there's no bad questions.
Except for the ones not asked.
Call for a vote, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open.
Thank you, Mr. Jenko. Appreciate it.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, we're going to move on to C, consider policy JCDB, student dress code. Your favorite, Brett Duncan.
Hey, can we,
Move the table forever.
Yeah, 2026. You know.
I don't see any changes in it.
There are none.
There is.
There is.
Joey, did you have a copy of this, folks?
Yeah. So after kind of talk, I know we put this back on the policy committee, and we had the big long meeting last time about eliminating skirts, and in that process. I agree with the community and many of the members of the board about eliminating skirts. It caused a big issue that some of us didn't even see some of the concerns that the parents brought. And like I said, I want to make sure to make that known before we even talk about dress code, that a lot of those comments swayed a lot of those decisions. And I'm very happy that they showed up and they voiced their opinion. However, when we look at the board as a whole, a lot of people still have concern with the skirt situation on whether or not it's going to be upheld, if the disciplinarians are going to be able to discipline with the skirts as they have in the past. With that being said, just talking amongst the board and many of the staff, I still think there needs to be some change to that particular part of the dress code. And the only thing that's kind of came up time and time again, along with the community member as a compromise, is making students wear shorts underneath their skirts. It's a compromise between both parties. We're still allowing you to wear the skirt so you can feel comfortable in what you're wearing. However, it does safeguard in case those skirts become a little too short, because we know kids get growth spurts. It happens. I might buy a skirt that's right above the knee. By the time I'm halfway through a semester, it might be a little higher because I've hit a little growth spurt. The shorts eliminate that problem. You're still supposed to have it knee length. That should still be, I guess, the protocol. But the shorts underneath it, I think, solves a big issue that our administrator and staff are facing on campus. Kind of a common ground for everybody.
So you
So,
making a
yes,
motion for that?
I would like to make a motion
Yeah, go ahead and make your motion, then we can.
to amend our policy and eliminate the jumper section and combine it with the skirt, since it's practically the same thing, and have it read, jumpers/skirts shall be either khaki or navy in color, made from twill only. Jumpers/skirts must be knee length, and shorts must be worn underneath, with the shorts not being visible.
Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mingus. Okay, the only problem I see with this, who is going to be the person that's going to check for this? If Janie comes in my classroom and I think her skirt is too short, who is going to check? Who's going to tell her, lift your skirt so I can see if you got shorts on underneath it?
So let me be very clear. I'm not asking anybody to do that. I'm saying this is more of a safeguard for when those skirts are too short. Because we know, with track record, they will be too short, whether we want them to or not.
But if they're too short, don't they already not pass the policy?
Yeah, but are they sending kids home right now?
No.
No, they are not. I went to an 8th grade graduation and saw more underwear than I care to know as a parent. That is not acceptable. It's not for our staff, not for other students on campus. We've had a bunch of problems with skirts. Matter of fact, there was a big ordeal on Facebook about a skirt. That could have been eliminated if the principal would have said, okay, she's got her shorts on, I'm going to leave this one alone, because if she bends down, I see shorts and not underwear. That's resolved.
But the problem is, who's going to ask? If a female student's in your class, and you saw her bend over and get a pencil, and she doesn't have shorts on.
I'm sending her to the office and they can check.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my point. Why should these principals, if you have a male principal, have to be the person to ask that person to see if they got shorts on
They got
underneath their
plenty
skirt?
of female people on campus that could do that. Majority of our profession is females.
You mind if I go real quick? All
Go ahead.
So I have three. I have a question, number one. So I'm looking at the document that's attached to the agenda tonight, and I see skirts, and it says skirts may be worn pre-K through 12 in khaki or navy color twill only. It has no language regarding length. Is that like this on purpose? That's question number one, and I guess that goes to administration.
I think
It says it
On
in
number-
7 for the previous page.
it's on another page.
7.
Good.
The length of the jumper and skirt in pre-K through 12 shall be knee
Knee
length
length.
or below.
Yeah,
Got it. I'm trying to see if that's on this one here.
that's on
Okay,
7
perfect.
top.
Yeah.
I feel like it almost needs to be redundant. Now, let me go on from there to my points here. Number one, I think it's too late in the year to make any changes regarding dress code at this point. That's just a really quick, easy statement. Number two, I'm with Robin. I cannot be in support of requiring something underneath the skirt that a male teacher or assistant principal or principal will have to ask if they're there. I think it opens up liability issues. It opens up accusations against that administrator or teacher. And I don't think that you can ask somebody, what's under your skirt? I could not go out in public and ask a lady, hey, what you got under your skirt? I think that I'd get slapped or arrested or whatever. Number three, I feel like something that we can do, and this was actually Tom's idea, so I don't want to claim it as my own, but one thing we thought of was if we made a rule that the length of the skirt had to be to the bottom of your fingertips or extend beyond the bottom of your fingertips, then I'm going to stand up and show you. If a girl walks in with a skirt that's too short, Tom can say, ma'am, put your hands by your side. She can see if it extends past. I understand what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say already. People's fingertips are different lengths. Their arms are different lengths. However, if we say they must extend beyond the bottom of your fingertips, then at least we have a rule of thumb. Now, I don't think that would completely solve the problem, but I think that they will understand at that point, if they're beyond, they're inside of that mark, they're way too short, so let's not send our kids out that way.
Look how short my skirt.
Yeah, that would be all the way up to your thigh.
Be way short.
Above
In
your
all
thigh.
fairness, your legs are only that long.
Yeah, but you gotta look at it how you just said to write that policy, man.
Watch out, Trent.
I mean,
Hey, I thought you agreed
look,
with
See what
look,
happens
let me
if I
let me make this
comment?
very clear. I'm not trying to put anybody in a predicament to where they feel like they got to ask a young lady to pick up her skirt. The only thing we already know, administration's going to pick their battle when they go to write a kid up or bring them home. I can tell you right now, you can walk on any campus on our parish, and if you're a teacher, you'll know what I'm saying. They're going to pick their battle. It doesn't matter what's written in this policy. If I'm a teacher and I'm doing my daily thing, and I see a kid with their shirt untucked, I'm not about to fight that battle, but I will fight it if they've got their phone out. Or I'm going to fight those battles. I'm not saying to really go and say, hey, where's your shorts under your skirt? I'm saying that we as a board should put this in here to safeguard the ones who are going to violate the policy, and when we don't check. I don't even care if we check. I just want to make sure that we as a board understand that when you wear a skirt, you should have something underneath it. My wife is a grown woman and she wears shorts underneath her skirt because she doesn't feel comfortable when she goes in public, in case she bends down. That's not the case in this generation anymore. It's not. You go to the dollar store on a Saturday morning and see what you see in a dollar store. You're seeing that on your campuses now.
Okay, I would like to just go back to my original point number one. I feel like it's too late. We're too close to the beginning of school to ask parents to go out and buy more clothing.
Yeah, but you're buying any shorts. It's not.
It doesn't matter if they have 4 skirts and now they have to buy 3 pairs of shorts, and the shorts are
I
$9.
understand.
Some people don't have that inside their budget at this point after paying school fees and school supplies and school uniforms and shoes, etc. So, and again, we're going to send everybody out to Walmart to pick up every pair of shorts they have. There might not be enough in the community to even satisfy this particular policy. So the reason why I feel like I changed my vote on skirts to begin with is because the parents are like, hey, we've already bought uniforms, and the purveyors that sell skirts are like, hey, we ordered thousands of skirts. So I didn't want to vote on that back on June 25th because July 11th because I felt like it was too late in the game 2 weeks ago. So anyway, I don't think this conversation should be closed altogether, but I feel like it's something that at this point we have to think about for next August. All right, I'm not going to talk anymore, sorry.
Ms. Janus?
What I'm hoping is that the parents are listening and the parents parent. And they pay attention to the skirts and how far they go. I was talking to another little girl that was outside of our district, and she said their measurement was their ID card. That it had from the knee to the top of the ID card. That's how they measured theirs. Also, I was thinking that would we do a religious exception? Because I know from my aunt, and they sent her to a chiropractor. She had to go into the water or something, and she needed to put on shorts or joggers or something, and she just would not do it. It was her skirt. So to ask them to put pants on up under their skirts, we're going to run into a problem.
Yeah. Mr. Duncan?
I was just, to Trent's point, just so the board knows, whatever dress code change we make after it's finally adopted, that we have to give them a 30 days between final adoption and any sort of enforcement mechanism. So if you make a change, is it 60 days now? Okay.
They would have time to buy.
But yeah, there would be there's got to be that time period between adoption and enforcement. I thought it was 30. Maybe they changed it to 60.
Ms. Rose?
Well, I would like to say that, we did a survey, and even before the survey, we had 50% of our administrators want us to get rid of skirts. 50% said keep it as it is. I think out of respect to the other 50%, they've asked us to do something. I think this is an alternative to not getting rid of skirts, that we add the shorts. Some of the principals told me that, in a sense, if a teacher corrects the child in the wrong way, and embarrasses them, that's wrong. They felt like that it would be better for if a teacher saw that a child actually had a skirt that was way too short, they would need to be referred to the office and let someone in administration handle it, and that's what suggestions were given to me. I just think in today's society, we have a lot of children who are not, and you hate to be crass, but they're not wearing anything under their skirts. Or they're wearing a thong and there are things showing when they bend over. And if there's some kind of a biker short, any kind of short, something under their skirts, at least that would show us that we appreciate the principals who are asking for something else. 50% of them are asking us to do something. And we've chosen to allow skirts to stay. I think we should at least ask people to wear shorts under their skirts. And that's just my opinion.
All right, how do you want this worded, Joey?
Miss Cindy, I gave you a print, but
It's on the screen.
sorry. Let's see.
On the screen.
Yep. See, job E. Color, maybe 20. Yeah, that kind of hits it right there. And the reason why I put shorts not visible, because I don't want it to create another issue where people wear long shorts that go beyond the skirt. Now it's another, just you can't see them.
All right, I call the question.
All right.
Voting is open. Mr. Moore, what did you vote?
I did not.
Okay, hold on one second. I have to remove the vote. If everyone will vote again, Mr. Toller, Miss Richards. Okay. I hit the button too quick. Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Toller, Ms. Abrams, Ms. Richards, and Mr. Anthony voting no.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have another something that I would just like to ask. Under the pants section, I would like to make a motion that we add pants along with the first line, all students, boys or girls, not for boys, but for girls, pants and capris will be allowed. I think we have a lot of young adults and teachers that like to wear capris, and I don't see anything wrong with the capris as long as they're twill, navy, or khaki. And I would just like to make that motion if anybody's interested in us adding capris to our pants policy.
So where would that be?
Under pants.
What's
So it says all students, boys and girls, pants shall be, but if we put all students, girls can wear capris in there somewhere. Capris or calf. So if someone's a little, they have heavier legs and they don't want to show all their leg, but they don't want to have to wear long pants, hot pants, they can wear a little bit cooler to the calf, right below the knee. It's just a, look, Miss Deborah's got on capris over there, don't you? You have on crops? You have crops. Okay, she's got on crops, but capris are a little bit shorter than that.
Miss
Yeah.
Miss
Not
Lily,
much difference, but right now the kids can only wear shorts if they don't want to wear shorts because they don't want their whole leg shown, and they have to wear pants. And they're hotter in pants. They make her wear capris. Robin wears capris a lot. Anyway.
Before we bring that to the motion or anything, I agree. I think options are great, especially because my wife wears capris a lot. So I kind of knew what it was, Tom. But Miss Stilley, do you feel like that, before we even vote on anything like that, as the administration, we're adding a new thing to the dress code, do you feel like that's something that is enforceable with the capris? Do you think that's going to be a distraction with only 2 weeks remaining?
I wouldn't recommend it, but I think it's from the time frame and all that, and just adding something else in the mix is not, I'm not really sure where the students would get those, because most of the stores are stocked with either skirts or shorts or pants,
Right.
regular, so.
Well, if they can find them, they could,
it's 2 weeks before school. I
It
really
wouldn't be
don't
my
but
recommendation.
it's not a
but
requirement,
y'all the board,
it's
so-
an option. It's it's an option. If they can find them in town, then they buy them. If they can't find them, they don't have to have them. It's an option.
I'll second Ms. Rose's motion, and we'll let the board decide.
But what's the specific, you gotta give us exactly what you want it to say and
Well,
where
they
you
could,
want it.
well, I'm just saying, like, under that line where it says all students, and then you could put girls are allowed to wear capris, because you're not gonna, boys don't wear capris
All
anyway.
right, so
but-
under where it says no jeans of any color shall be worn, you would put girls may wear capris.
Yeah,
The first sentence, Mr. Duncan.
I was saying under the first sentence, where it says, all pants shall be as follows, girls may wear capris.
On the screen.
Somewhere like before jeans, I think, before jeans.
Yeah, I would put it right
Khaki,
below
navy, it has
pants.
to be this way, and then it could also.
Right, but she
include
wanted to
capris.
have language that specifically said girls can wear capris.
Girls can wear capris.
I would
say females can wear capris.
Females can wear capris.
I would put it right below the word pants, right above all students. I would put females may wear.
So since we have a motion, even though it wasn't written yet, I feel like now female students have 4 pant options and male students have 2. But it's kind of not fair. I'm just going to mention that.
Well, that's,
I mean,
Okay, where do you want this inserted at, Mr.
I think it has to be a separate sentence
yes.
that says girls can wear capris.
yeah. And girls shall be allowed to wear capris, instead of saying and capris shall be
Or females.
females. I know.
It's not-
I think this is the most.
Yeah, because you don't want to have boys.
Live action.
Read it to them.
No, the girls have jumper.
Yeah, but that's not right.
There's a different type of pants.
No, I
Yes,
don't
it
know.
is. Got to be
I
a
don't
little
know.
different
What
than
is the
that.
other type of pants? What is the other type of pants?
They wear joggers. We allow them to wear joggers.
What is the other type of the pants with the elastic?
Miss Rose.
No.
Oh, did we call a
Under
question?
pants.
No, I haven't.
Oh, we'll call a question.
Under the pants section. Yeah, not underpants.
Girls, can we put females?
That's what they said.
Females may wear capri
Yeah, I think it sounds.
pants.
Well,
Your pants.
but there, Miss Rose, another thing that the guys wear them here. They do.
They wear how?
No, they're. I don't know what they call them. I don't know what they call.
Back in the 50s, they called them high waters.
They're here, but their high waters will be up at the ankles, but they're actually like capris. They're
Capri
up there.
pants?
And they is
I've never seen it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That is.
But
Can we tackle that another day?
yeah.
Let's tackle that another
All right,
day.
call for a vote.
Cindy,
Miss
what
Cindy.
you got up there is, I
Hold on.
don't, that's
Put- change girls to
confusing.
females.
It shouldn't
Okay,
say, I don't know why it says underpants.
I just
There you go.
changed.
Okay.
All right, so before we call the question, I need my fashion people to tell me whether the following sentence contradicts capris, because the last sentence on the next page, just so y'all know, so if we add a sentence that says females may wear capris pants, the next sentence in that section says pants must be bought in the child's appropriate size, no sagging, no oversized pants, no wide leg, no bell bottom, no cargo, no safari, I don't know what that is, no sweatpants. When suit pants or carpenter pants shall be allowed. So are capris and
That doesn't fall under any of that.
so none of those have any of those things. Okay, I just want to make sure we're not doing anything contradictory.
Nope, they don't follow.
I have another motion to clean up some language. Can we add it in here to make it easy so we don't have to do another one? Can we do that?
Does it have to do with capris?
Does it have to do
Is it with capris? No.
Oh.
No, I want to do a.
All right, let's call for a vote on this, Miss Cindy.
Okay. Trying to save
Voting is
time.
open.
Is this another option?
Are you gonna put between females and wear? Are you gonna put may wear capri pants?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Look at the lawyer over here.
Hold on one second.
Do we need a vote on this?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Mr. Westmoreland.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
Shall. Or may.
Okay. Voting is open.
Another option on
Oh, you reopened it again?
I
Yeah.
did. I
it.
let
She had
it
it
out.
blanket. She left out a word.
Okay.
Sure. Bring it to the main board. Not a requirement.
No, what did you vote? Yes, okay.
Somebody FaceTiming. All right, that's it.
No, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore?
Mr.
Are
Moore,
you yay or nay?
Oh, you got to vote.
He's playing on his phone.
Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Duncan, Mr. Toller, and Ms. Abrams voting no.
I told you I was voting no. I told you I'm not voting for that.
All right, is anything else to be addressed on our policy committee?
I just want to clean up some language. I'd like to make a motion to amend under dress code regulation number 7, eliminate the words "the length" and just add "must meet dress code guideline below" behind the number 12, and eliminate the rest of the sentence. It's just cleaning up language, so it's not confusing to the reader. That's all.
Where's it at? Where?
Under dress code regulation, we pretty much repeat ourselves in this code. And so really all I'm doing is taking out some language and cleaning it up so it's not repetitive.
You want to strike number 7?
So number 7, you would strike the words "the length" at the beginning, and add "must meet the dress code guidelines below" behind the number 12. And then strike through "shall be knee length or below." That's already stated in what we just approved.
Well, we haven't approved it yet.
Well, I'm
It's the
saying
full
under
board.
these amendments. Just trying to clean language so it's not redundant in our policy. And then that's it. The OCD in me, I'm sorry, guys.
Hold up. We didn't change the skirts. On the next page, we didn't add a length in.
Yeah, knee length is in there.
I thought it was only in number 7.
No, we moved it to under the jumpers and skirts. It's in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so jumpers and, did you give him a copy?
Yeah, he's got a copy. It's in there as well.
Got it.
All right. I need a second to his motion.
Second.
All right, Brett, second.
Call the question.
Call a question.
Amen.
Do you have it, Miss Cindy?
I do. Voting is open.
Yes, Mr.
Tom's against me all day today. I'm sorry, Tom.
Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Toller and Mr. Anthony voting no. Okay.
All right. If nothing else before the policy committee, meeting adjourned.